We're now going to look at double integrals over general regions that are not necessarily rectangular. And we're going to focus on two main types. The first type is going to be where we have upper and lower boundaries that are functions of x. So our region here has a function of x that is an upper boundary, and also a function of x that is a lower boundary. Let's call this lower boundary y1, which is some function of x. We'll say f1 at x. And this upper limit, or the upper boundary, is another function of x. Let's call it f2 of x. Now we are going to be continuing the discussion where we're going to try to find the volume between a surface function and this region in the floor. And our domain region here in the xy plane has this top function, y2, as the top of that domain region, and the bottom of that domain region is y1. So the top and bottom of this domain region are not constant values. Let's consider a little rectangle here in this domain region, which would be down here in the 3D drawing. And essentially we're going to add up infinitely many different rectangular cylinders in order to get the volume between the surface and this region in the xy plane. And the way we add up infinitely many different things is by calculating that integral. So this volume is going to be a double integral, and let's say that this surface function is g at xy, so that ceiling function is going to be the argument of our double integral. And now we have to determine the order of integration. Because the region in the domain is not rectangular, it does matter who is integrated first. And what we'll see is that when we have a region that looks like this, we'll need to integrate with respect to y first. So let's try to understand why that's the case. Let's say we tried to integrate with respect to x first, which means that we would be floating this square left and right. And when we integrate with respect to x, we would be adding up infinitely many rectangles in this direction, and we would essentially get the volume of a slice. Well, the reason that's problematic is because if we were to float left and right, our lower limit of integration would be the value x is equal to a, and our upper limit of integration would be the value x is equal to b, but those are only the limits if our band is in this middle region. When our rectangle floats all the way down into this corner, what we see is that we end up with a left and right limit of integration that are different than a and b. The left one is still a, but now the right one is this function of x. So because the left-right limits would be different up here than they are down in the corner, and even different up here than they are up in this corner, we really need to integrate with respect to y first, which means that our little floating rectangle would go up and down, and as we go up and down, we see that we have the lower limit, we'll call that f1 at x, and the upper limit, calling that f2 at x. Those are the same limits no matter where that rectangle is in this region. It's always going from f1 to f2. Even when my rectangle is way over here, the bottom limit is still f1 and the upper limit is still f2. So we are going to be integrating with respect to y first, and no matter where we are in that domain region, the lower limit is f1 at x and the upper limit is f2 at x. So once we add up infinitely many different rectangles in the direction of y, then we're going to float this band right and left, and when my band is at the leftmost point, now we're integrating with respect to x, adding up the volumes of the bands in the direction of x. When the band is all the way to the leftmost boundary, that value of x is going to be a, and when that band is all the way to the rightmost boundary, the value of x is going to be b. And this would be the double integral that we would use to find the volume between the surface and this region in the xy plane. Notice that these inside limits contain the x variable, which is being held constant when we integrate with respect to y. And the outside limits are going to be constants with respect to y and with respect to x. So the inside limit is allowed to have a variable in it as long as it's being held constant with that first iteration of the antiderivative. Now let's take a look at this second type. When the top and bottom of this domain region are constants, but the side walls are changing functions, we'll be integrating with respect to x first. So these side walls are not functions of x, they don't pass that vertical line test, but they can be considered functions of y. So we'll say that this leftmost side wall gives us an x value that is a function of y, And the rightmost sidewall gives us a different x value, also some function of y. So let's see that down here in R3, we've got x1 is some function of y, and x2 is some other function of y. And again, these are the changing sidewalls of this domain region. Now again, we're trying to find the volume between this surface function, let's call it g at xy, and that domain region in the floor, which is going to be determined by calculating a double integral where the integrand is that surface function and we need to determine the order of integration. So again, let's consider a tiny rectangle within the domain region, and we can see that corresponding down here in R3. And here's our first rectangular cylinder, but we want to add up infinitely many of these. So if we were to begin by floating this little tiny rectangle in the direction of x first and adding up the rectangular solids along the x-band, we see that we do get a leftmost limit that is a function of y and a rightmost limit that is a different function of y no matter where we are in this region. We could draw our rectangle anywhere and we're going to have that same upper and lower limit throughout. This is why we want to integrate with respect to x first. The lower limit is this function of y, f1 at y, and the upper limit is this other function of y, f2 at y, throughout that entire region. Now, once we've added up infinitely many different rectangular cylinders in the direction of x, then we're going to take this band and float it up and down in order to add up infinitely many different bands. We calculate this by integrating with respect to y. When this band is at its lowest, the lower limit is going to be this y value c, and when the band is all the way at the top, the y value is d, so that's going to be our upper limit. So this is the iterated integral that we would use in order to calculate this volume. Again, notice that the inside iteration is integrating with respect to x, and those inside limits contain y values, but y is being held constant when I integrate with respect to x. It's okay to have variables in the limits so long as those variables are being held constant with respect to the variable of integration. But these outermost limits need to be true constants with respect to both variables of integration.